everybody, I'm Tom Vassell.
I'm Chris Yee.
And I'm Joey Evans.
Today we're taking a look at Invincible, the hero building game. Now this is based on the cartoon, yes, it's definitely based on the cartoon, not the comic book of Invincible, although the cartoon is based on the comic, and they do a fairly decent job at following the storyline.
Take that, nerds. He covered all his bases.
Oh,
that's right.
At him.
I know all the stuff. But this is from Dire Wolf, which got me interested because you may have heard of them. Dune Imperium, Clank.
What?
I know.
Yeah.
So that got me excited that they also had an IP that I enjoyed. So we're going to show you how it plays, and we'll be right back. In this game, players are going to play either Robot, Rexplode, Invincible, or Adam Eve. Each of these characters has a standee, and it tells you on them which of these three locations, A, B, or C, they start in. You're also going to have a bag that is full of cubes. You're going to have 3 cubes of orange, yellow, purple, and blue, but you also have 6 black cubes thrown into your bag. And then you'll draw some cards. You're going to pick a scenario. So you can see in this instance, we're doing the first scenario here, short-staffed in the hero department. And there's many different scenarios that you can play through. You could even play through them in a campaign if you want to, but you don't have to. This scenario is going to help you go through each of the rounds. And at the beginning of each round, you'll see things will happen. And you can even make the scenario harder by having harder things happen. In this case, a level 1 enemy comes out and it says they go into B. And a level 2 enemy comes out, elephant, and they go to A. So that's kind of the start. When these people come out, sometimes these villains will do various things, but now you as a team are going to try to stop them and try to do whatever the goals of the scenario might be. You'll do this by simultaneously pulling 3 cubes from the bag. You'll pull 3 cubes from the bag, and you can put them anywhere you want on your board to activate things. Black cubes can go anywhere you want. They're wild. This lets you move. There are different actions that you have. Move is just move to an adjacent location, which can also be the Guardian's headquarters where you'll heal 2 hit points, and you can flip over this token you have. Each player will have a token here, which means when you pull the cubes from the bag, you can flip it over to throw them back in if you want to. And here I'm doing damage to an enemy in my location. Each enemy is going to have a certain number of hit points based on the number of players in the game. There's also civilians that are going to be here. In each spot, 7 civilians start in danger, and you can rescue. There's a term called rescue where you'll rescue civilians and move them to safety. If all the civilians are in danger and more civilians have to be moved to danger, then you start taking them as casualties, and you take more than 15 civilian casualties, you lose. If a hero takes hit points, each hero has 10 hit points on them. If they take more than 10 hit points, they get knocked out. And if the heroes get knocked out a total of 3 times, they lose. And there's possible other scenario things that might happen. For example, in this scenario, if you get to round 6 and haven't gotten rid of all the flaxen villains who have shown up, well, then you lose. Now, I mentioned that heroes are going to be pulling 3 cubes from a bag. You can take actions in any order you want, and you can pull as slow or as fast as you want. You can keep pulling cubes from the bag. And while black cubes are wild, if at any point you have 5 black cubes on your board, you pull your 5th black cube, then you're going to crash. When a player crashes, they are going to end up basically done for the round. They're going to put their cubes down here in this ready area, and at the end of a round, you're going to roll a die that does 1 to 6 damage to you because you've crashed. Although a 1 is even worse than you might think because you roll again. And if you take that damage, there's ways for another hero to rescue you so you don't take damage. If they try to rescue you, they'll roll a die to keep you from crashing. The villains themselves are also going to be attacking. Not only will various things be happening, but event cards will be pulled off at the end of a turn. The event deck is going to be made up of different events based on how hard of a game you're playing. And this will tell you what minions do. Different things will spawn minions. So for example, here minions do 1 damage to the heroes in their area. And then the highest health villain will do their special ability and attack. So in this case, that would be Elephant. So his attack just does 3 damage to the heroes in this spot. His special ability puts 2 civilians in danger. Then if he's above half health, he does it again. And as the game goes by, these events can get really, really, really terrible and hurt the good guys. But before that happens, after everyone is done pulling cubes from your bag, whether you stop, you're like, I'm done pulling cubes from my bag, or you crash or what have you, then heroes are going to look for these icons on each of the thing, and they're going to get to buy superpowers. Players are going to start with a handful of superpowers, and you can buy them with that currency and put these in front of you, which will do all kinds of things. Each hero can have one yellow, one blue, one orange superpower, and then 2 more of any color. And that's not all. Each hero starts with a special superpower that only they have. If, like, for example, Invincible has this flying charge, where he does 2 damage, gets 1 money to spend for buying superpowers. He can move and take a villain with him to where he moves. And they can have even a more upgraded superpower. Like here, he thwarts something, and a hero, you can pull cubes from the bag. If you can't buy any superpowers, you get learn by punching, which is not that great, but you can turn it in next time to get a superpower for free. And you can even get ultimate powers, which are better than superpowers, but you have to use a superpower before you use these ultimate powers. So there's a lot of things that players are going to have more and more powers. They can also, at the end of a round, discard a card from their hand, and they get to take, this is a yellow card, they'll take a yellow cube and throw it into their bag. So every round you're adding more cubes to your bag. Now I mentioned thwarting. This is an important aspect of this game. Whenever you thwart, you can either thwart a villain, which means the next time that villain tries to attack or use a special ability, it's canceled. Or you can thwart special things or events that will happen. For example, in this one, all the enemies are going to heal 10 at the end of a round, at the end of round 5. I don't want that to happen, but if we get 3 thwarts there, or 4 in a 4-player game, we cancel that from happening. And that's it. Players have to do whatever the scenario says to win. So here, in this scenario, you have to defeat the 3 Flaxen villains. Here you have to defeat Omni-Man. Here you have to defeat these guys. Here you have to protect the citizens. You just basically have to get to the end so Omni-Man can come and rescue you. Here you have to stop people from escaping from prison, and so on and so forth. And that is how you play. Okay, so theme-wise,
Yep.
it's kind of weird. I want to say 2 things about the theme. I think the theme is really strong.
Great.
I think it's really, all the different scenarios, I'm like, I remember that one. I remember that one. I remember that. But I think if you don't know the theme, you can still enjoy this game. For you, it would be a generic superhero game, if that makes sense.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. I think that you would look at it and say, like, oh, okay, an invasion. Oh, this one's about, blowing up Mount Rushmore. That's good. I know how to defend my...
By the way, that is a hilarious scenario where you basically will lose. You don't want different heads to be blown up in Mount Rushmore. Like, okay, we got to save Washington. Let's do it. That's just a funny scenario.
This would know the characters. I did lean into, I think every character really is thematic to who they are in the show. And I think it's fun to lean into that, to do what each of them would do in that situation.
Sure.
Yeah,
but I'm just saying that if don't let the theme turn you off. Also, some spoilers, the cartoon is very violent and bloody.
Oh, it's not a spoiler. Right. That's a very fair warning. I've only watched 2 episodes of the show, so I know that you 2 have watched both seasons of the show. So I'm not as invested in the theme necessarily, but I do like the theming, the matching that they've done. But I can also speak from a place of, I don't really know this plot. I don't really know what's going on here. It's a very easy scenario to learn. It's still exciting. You know what I mean?
Right, but what I'm saying is the show's pretty bloody and violent at points. Yeah. It's not that much in this game. Like, I think you could play this game with kids almost. I mean, it's not... Maybe the stuff's implied, but it's not. There's not blood and gore all over this thing.
Don't watch the show with kids.
No. I'm not saying that. Okay,
I don't even do that, but I would play this as a kid.
So this game is a cooperative game that, to me, when I describe it to people, I say it's half Quacks of Quedlinburg, half Orleans, and half Marvel United, which is bad math, but it really does feel like a mix of those 3 things. And I don't have a problem with that. I love all three. I'm struggling to think of anything I don't like in this game. I like everything.
Okay.
Tell me something you don't like so I can
The thing I
shoot
don't,
you down.
Here's and I'm going to say something I did not enjoy when I played it, and I'll also counter my own point and probably agree with everything that you guys say. So it has that push your luck feel. At some point in the in the third or fourth round, I busted on I think the second or third pull from the bag.
Your fault.
It was a terrible streak of luck.
Oh, where you pulled like 3 black cubes?
Yeah, absolutely.
Oh, yeah.
And you can't use your flip token if you on the pull that you bust on.
That's
right?
correct.
Some people are going to be turned off in that moment. I absolutely understand that. Counterpoints, because I'm also about to refute it myself.
Well, I mean, so that happened when I played with my daughters. That happened on turn 1. But we recovered from it. We kind of said, hey, that stuff can happen because also over the course of the game, it kind of evens out. That's not a great thing. And she also then rolled a 1+6. And we were like, oh, we're going to lose. Should we restart? But we didn't restart, and we came back to win. So this game is really, really great at difficulty scaling. I mean, it's amazing. They have cards that make the game easier. I didn't show those in the review, but there are cards you can have Omni-Man show up and just do 8 damage to somebody. You can eat a good meal and everyone has some hit points back, whatever. Mm-hmm. And there are cards that you can make it harder. And then you can play on different levels. The events that come out, it's really nice scalability. And so if you want a game that you can beat, that's the group I'm in, but if you want it to be like hardcore hard, you can do that too.
So I think at the average scaling, at the average level, you will bust sometimes, and sometimes early in the turn. My counter to that is that because it's a cooperative game, everyone's working together, and I like that there's a mechanism where you can save someone when they bust.
That's the thing. This deals with the KO, I think, in the best of this genre of games for me. I think it's very easy to co-assist that person when they do get KO'd, and it deals with that great, I think.
Well, that brings in that whole cooperative nature of this one. It does that real-time aspect, which I know will turn some people off. Like, I know Z doesn't like that particularly. That whole, I'm going to pull my cubes 4 times from the bag, and you're sitting there waiting because you know I might bust and you're ready to use that rescue. Mm-hmm. Or I'll say, wait, before you hit this guy, let me move him over to where you're at, or whatever it is.
Right.
That stuff really gels together, and because of that real-time nature, it felt like this game had no downtime. None.
And then it also fixes like quacks. We say it's like quacks where you pull, but then those cubes become wild. You can put them wherever. So there's a benefit to drawing those as well as that detriment. But then also, Marvel United moving in those locations, it's a shorter area you get to move, so you're never out of reach of anywhere. It just has, I think it just really, it takes all those and I think compounds on them.
Nice little ideas like if you're standing in an area, you take the hits instead of the civilians you're protecting. Right. That feels heroic, which is good, right? And it also is a strategic choice. Like, where am I going to end my movement this turn? I would like to go back to base, refresh, get my token back. But now I'm just leaving people vulnerable out there. It's a nice choice.
And it's thematic. And on top of that, we didn't mention the whole fact that it's scenario-based or campaign if you want to.
Yeah, I don't know actually if I'll ever play the campaign.
I don't know.
I was really happy with picking any scenario I wanted to playing it. I also, Joey and I learned using Direwolf makes apps. They make great apps.
Yeah.
And they made a tutorial on how to play this, and it's marvelous. Good. It just walks you right through how to play that very first scenario. It's terrific.
And the rulebook's not bad either.
No, it's not.
It's not a let's cover a week basis. Rulebook's got it all in there, but the tutorial is good. I did that on my own with Wendy actually as well. So
it's good.
People.
I also like when you're looking and you can kind of almost plan because you see what's coming from the bad guy to an extent. So you can kind of get your people in position to prepare for that next wave. I like that.
And thwarting is a great mechanism.
Yes.
That's like there's a lot in this game you'll say, I don't know, much of it is new. They're like combining stuff.
No.
But the thwarting feels fresh. Like I can thwart this villain, he's not going to pull this thing off, but I also need to thwart the mission as a whole to stop that from going off. And like you said, the other thing I think that feels fresh is the fact that those black cubes are bad, but they're also wild.
Yes, and you
so
want them.
I'm not that upset when I draw until I draw the third or fourth one. Then you're like,
a little bit nervous.
Do I push my luck or not?
Yeah. Yeah, it's like they picked all these great mechanisms from different games. Like you said, there's not much new, but then they combine them. These are your favorite things. Let's put them in here. And they work together. That's the other thing. I think these really flow.
And a little choice, a little difference from things like Quacks of Quedlinburg or whatever, where you draw 3 cubes at once. So you have a little more burst of allocation. And sometimes you're like, oh, I don't want to do this yet. I'll put 1 cube there and not the second one, because I would like to be able to draw another handful to move first before I do my big punch. That's kind of, it gives you these little micro extra choices that feel like refreshing, even though it feels familiar.
And the assisting someone else, like allowing them to draw cubes without that, so I like that. It all flows there.
Yeah, the game, the full game with the extra powers and the superpowers, and that's another thing I love. I love the upgrading. Every turn, I can add a new power.
Yeah.
And a game even like, oh, you couldn't afford a new power? Well, here, learn by punching, which is hilarious. And also that gives you definitely a free one. And you're also adding more color cubes to the bag, so every round your chance of busting gets smaller. It does.
Yeah.
So but also the enemies are just showing up and just pummeling civilians. And it's so much fun. It felt invigorating all the way to the end each time I played it.
I agree.
So for me, I've gone on record as saying I'm not wild about Quacks of Quedlinburg, and there's, I think I'm in the minority there. I'm at odds with most people on that one. So I was a little bit more hesitant going into this one. Are we good going to final?
Yeah, sure, go for it.
So for me, I'm coming in at this one at an 8. I really enjoy it, and I could see this one growing on me more. But right now, I'm very comfortable saying this is a great game. I'm also sure that I'm probably coming in the lowest based on this conversation here, right? It does for me things that are more satisfying. The way that you build up power cards, the way that you can add more cubes, it's a more dynamic way of leveling up than in Quacks of Quedlinburg, than in some other kind of push-your-luck bag games like this. So I think that the extra choices and all that stuff make this a stellar game, and I have a lot of fun with it. So yeah, it's an 8 from me. It could go higher.
For me, it is a 9. I really love this game. The theme definitely helps, and I think, honestly, if you're one of those people, and there might be some watching this, and I don't need 72 comments to this effect, but they're like, I'm tired of superhero games. I get it. That's fine. Then this might not be for you. Because a superhero theme, even if you're Invincible or not, it's still a superhero theme.
Right. You're
going around, you're rescuing civilians, you're punching bad guys. But it just has this nice arc. It feels hard, but it's not overly hard, although, like I said, you can make it hard, which is exactly what a cooperative game. You can play the little campaign if you want, or you can skip that and just play scenarios. You're constantly upgrading. The game isn't overly long, and it just has like almost all my favorite mechanisms in one game. So, I mean, for me, I think a 9 might even be a little low, but I've enjoyed this every time I played it.
Yeah, Tom is right. It is a bit low. I'm coming in at a 9.5 on this. And honestly, the only thing that keeps me from going to a 10 is because I just want to see more stuff in it. I also want to see minis. I don't know.
I want 4 more characters, actually. I want to play as the Beast Girl, and they've
got a pool to pull from. I mean, you see the twins in there, you see the clones. This game is great. It takes everything I love from Quacks. It takes everything I love from Marvel United. It takes all these things I love and puts it into a game that flows and is quick. And every turn, it's just punchy. You keep going, and it's the one game that I played recently that after I play it, we're playing something else, and I'm like, whew, I really want to play Invincible again. To the point where you're playing another game with people and they get really annoyed as like, just stop talking about it right now.
Real life scenario.
Yes, it really does happen. I'm like, could we just play Invincible again?
Yeah, we were playing a game like, let's go back and play Invincible. And
yes.
So I did. I went home and like, I'm playing it at home.
So good. And then you say you won't go for the campaign. I probably will because I'm like, I want to see everything this game has to offer. It's really that good.
When you die, let me know.
I will die a lot.
I'm the man who's going to kill you.
He always does.
Alrighty, so there you go, folks. That's Invincible, the hero building game. Looks like Dire Wolf has done it yet again. Mm-hmm. I'm Tom Vassell.
I'm Chris Yee.
I'm Invincible. Well, Joey Evans.
Get a knife. Let's find out. Hey everybody, thanks for watching another video from the Dice Tower. Hey, you want to learn more about us, communicate with us? We have a Facebook group, we have a Discord channel, lots of different ways to get involved with the Dice Tower. You can find that in our Linktree link below. So just click that, it will take you and you can communicate with us on Facebook, join our Facebook groups. There's lots of cool things that you can find and become part of the Dice Tower. Thanks so much for watching. I'm Tom Vassell.